Hello and welcome to MidnightScibe's Creative Vibes, where we speak to the best of the bronies and discover what makes them tick. I've got a question for you lovely viewers. Have you ever done one of those who would you be in My Little Pony quizzes? You know, the ones that say, do you like cupcakes? You say no, and then you learn your character's Pinkie Pie because everyone has to love cupcakes. Well, I did one recently and found out that I am most like Rarity. Rarity, of course, is the fashionista, the hard-working pony who frets about dirt, can't travel without at least 8 suitcases, and is incredibly hard-working. How could this quiz become Rarity? Fashionista, hard-working? I can't open a Word document without sweating. Even this intro is, insert joke here, introduce today's guest, smile for the camera. I haven't even finished the intro for this week's episode, but never mind. Let's bounce right back. Let's wing it. Today's guest is a smorgasbord of talents. She's an artist, singer, voice analyst. Voice analyst. She's an analyst. She's a voice actor, a fan fiction writer. She's a whole lot more. But most importantly, she is today's guest on Creative Vibes. We are happy to welcome DarkhorseKC to the studio. Dark Horse, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Wow, that's like the best introduction I'd ever got. I mean, forgot to mention Wrangler, but wow, thank you.
Yeah, well, actually, listen, we always like to do a nice big bombastic intro for our guests, despite the fact there that I'm pretty sure I forgot English at least 3 or 4 times when I was saying that bit. I was going like, we're happy to welcome that, just like, oh, you can tell that like I need a crank to wind myself up to get ready for any interview or any chat I ever do. But it is.
Hey, I have diner's coffee like before this interview, so I'm already pumped up anyways, but with enough composure. So.
Oh, well, you see, that's what I did wrong. I haven't had coffee for hours. I think the last cup I had would have been about 4 hours ago, so no wonder I'm flagging.
Ugh. It's the elixir of life.
Oh, listen, you don't have to tell me twice. I love coffee so much. I've got a coffee machine through the room, free coffee roast just waiting for me to... Oh, no, I can't talk about that. I'm actually fantasizing about making a cup of coffee. This is not a good way to go. Right, we're taking us back on track already because I already am thinking of the coffee I'm going to buy later on. But we have Dark Horse here, and not only do we have Dark Horse, we also actually have a bit of an unprepared guest, but someone that I've been wanting to have on the show, at least for a wee bit for a little while. He is an honorary member of the Highland Bronies because he is not from Scotland. He is actually from America, which is somewhere to the east or to the west. I think you can hit it both directions anyway. But he is an artist, he's a musician, all-round brony and lovely guy. I know him as Rocky Harmony. Rocky, how are you doing?
Yeah, my cover's blown. I mean, hi, how are you?
Well, I'm doing great.
Forever, Rocky.
The truth would get out eventually.
Oh, exactly. Well, you know, listen, we had to let you out of the bag at some point. I mean, you've been doing so much hard work behind the scenes of the Highland Bronies. You know, we had to at least, you know, get you in at some point just to say hello and to keep me on track because our producer Sugar Dove is away doing other things. How dare she?
Oh, and I wanted to meet her too, but it's okay. I mean, Rocky's already known to follow me anyway, since we actually knew each other since high school before the Brony fandom, believe it or not.
Yep. Yeah, we're friends long before the show even started.
Oh, well, you have to tell us a little bit about that history then. How did you both meet?
Well, we actually first met through a Christian theater program called Christian Youth Theater, or CYT for short. It was an after-school homeschooling-co-op-undecided programming where you perform really good quality plays from the ages of 6, I believe, at the youngest, to 18. And it's a really good organization. It's where I got most of my creative inspiration, believe it or not. I mean, I know I'm a question away, but it was like through theater where I get to learn to be confident on my speaking roles. And I mean, even though I was on ensemble most of my roles there, it gave me a lot of creative freedom on there. So that was one of my roots of inspiration. and for me to be later to have my own YouTube channel to do all this.
So that was really just a big foundation then for your creativity, actually doing theatre and doing that stuff with the Christian community.
Oh yes, and exactly. I mean, on not just the Christian community, but it was also like the theater program. Like they also have a lot of artists and photographers in there, so at least it's one where it's not a discrimination group, but it was definitely one of the inspirational foundations for my creativity.
And that actually explains as well, actually, something I was going to ask you, because, like, you know, in the Brony fandom, you see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ponies and so on, and, you know, all different designs, all different types. I think you might be the first one I've seen. I could be wrong. People correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure you might be the first pony I've interviewed, or perhaps the first one I've met, that actually has a crucifix as part of your character design.
Well, I did number one, to have my Christian faith to be still the center of my being, but I wanted to show that, I know I'm kind of stealing this from Rachel Joyce Scott, but I wanted to show that it's an essential part of my life, my faith, and that's same with my cutie mark, which I wanted to have the three greatest foundations of my life really is my faith, my horsemanship as a wrangler, and also that my personality with the rose with the vine and thorns. So I didn't want to just have my cross necklace on there. I wanted to have it also be essential in my cutie mark design.
Point you actually just mentioned there in between that was that about how you work as a wrangler. I mean, you're a real life Brayburn, basically.
You work with horses.
Yes, I work with horses for a living. I actually worked at a dude stream in Durango for 2 years until I now work as a manager for one at the private family ranch and at a private stables right around my hometown. So I work with barrel racing horses and trail horses as well as some team roping horses. So yes, it's, if you think I'm insane to work all this and still be creative, then we're all mad here, as Lewis Carroll would say.
Well, I mean, I can imagine how tiring that work must be. I mean, because, you know, not to bring up too fine a point, horses are not small animals, you know, they're huge and they take a lot of care. I mean, what kind of things do you have to do there then as a wrangler and managing the estate?
Well, what I have to do basically, to get in layman's terms, basically just one, make sure they're all kept alive, especially in freezing temperatures at right now here in Missouri at this point. It's like a wasteland out here of the tundra. But mostly when weather's permittable, I also help in the training, and I'm also help in the medical field in the veterinarian department at the private stables where I work at. And just pretty much in definition of wrangler is pretty much you have several it's like contract labor. So really it's more like a freelance job. So kind of in a way, and for some of you actors out there, it's kind of like a contract out there where the more ranches you go, it's like the build up for that resume.
So a freelance role, you're saying, so, and you look after the horses, you make sure they stay alive, possibly the most important part of it all, making sure they actually live through the winters and so on. I mean, what are the winters like there where you live? Because, I mean, Scotland, well, actually not even Scotland, I live in Inverness, which, as far as Scottish places go, is a bit unusual when it comes to the weather. You know, you go anywhere else, it'll be snow, snow, snow. You come to Inverness, 25 degrees Celsius, and it is just like, you know, tropical palm trees coming in to move. You know, it's fantastic.
Well, the weather's here. You gotta understand this one joke, and Rocky can emphasize on that one. We Missourians, we actually have a joke where in the winter and in the summertime, we rename the state of Missouri to the state of misery. Because the winters here, it can be either like the nicest you ever seen or the under 0 and sub-zero degrees. So the weather here is pretty much unpredictable. Same thing with the summer where it can be sticky and humidity. So, and on some days, on a good day, you have all 4 seasons in one day. So the weather's a little unpredictable, is all I could say.
Keeps things interesting.
Oh, definitely. Well, it sounds like it, and it certainly explains, Rocky, why you've had the fan on recently before we started recording.
Yes.
I have so many questions on that.
It's freezing outside. boiling hot in my room.
How have you done
At
that?
least the heater works. So.
That's good, because I had to turn off my furnace so I could be able to have my recording clear, since it's like super loud in my apartment.
We're all suffering for this recording.
Well, hopefully you still won't be suffering for too long at the very least. I mean, as I say this in my comfortably warm room, albeit with no coffee. I have no coffee. That's my suffering.
We feel for you. Of course, I actually don't like coffee. Of course, then again, I've never really tried it, so I can't say I don't like it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rocky, if you ever come over to Scotland or I eventually get over to America, we will have a cup of joe together.
Oh, yes. We all need to.
Oh,
Sounds like a plan.
definitely. No, that sounds absolutely fantastic. But I'll tell you what, we can discuss future plans in Americana later on. But in terms of things I wanted to discuss, I mean, I've got a ream of things I wanted to go through. And first and foremost, I wanted to ask, I think I've got this right, but I could be wrong. DarkhorseKC, is that Dark Horse of Kansas City?
Yes, that is true. I am the Dark Horse of Kansas City. And I know what you're probably going to ask. Why did I choose that username? Because I've been getting that question a lot lately.
This is your chance to answer that.
Well, I may as well get it out of the way anyway. So, in racing terms, you have that one horse who is pretty much new in the ranks and looks like it doesn't have a chance to make it into the top dog because of either background or speed or whatever. But little at a time, you then started building up, and then it's like just out of the blue, something comes out. So I figured I'm pretty much a dark horse in this fandom, because here I am reviewing not just pony on some cases, but mostly video game characters like Assassin's Creed, and just doing all these random things I can't believe I still do. And I also wanted to add in there KC, because one, I wanted to show pride for my home city of Kansas City, and it is also part of a nickname that in one of the news streams where I formerly worked, some of my fellow coworkers nicknamed me KC. So I figure, okay, that could be stuck for my persona.
Well, it's definitely a very distinctive name, and as you were saying, I mean, it's great that you have pride in your home city. I mean, I'm sure Kansas is absolutely lovely. You know, I mean, like I said, I've never been to America before. I've got so many places I want to visit. I mean, in terms of Kansas, then, what would be the best place to go to there? Like, you know, give me the tourist outlook.
Okay. First, I'm not gonna. It's an average mistake. Actually, Kansas City is on the Missouri side. I mean, it'll take too long to explain the politics on why it happened back in the 1800s, but mostly believe it or not, Kansas City in description is the highest Irish immigration city still to this day in America. So, and the reason why they love it, because in landscape description, in the spring and summer and fall, I mean, it's like full of very thick woods and really rich pasture. And it just looks like the motherland, as the Irish would describe it. And of course, it's like a little bit clay in the ground in some places, but you also have some pride, a lot of cool things in Kansas City too, like the National World War I Museum, the only Smithsonian museum outside of Washington, D.C. that has World War I in there, and you have like the Nelson Atkins Museum, the first studio that Walt Disney ever had in Kansas City, since he was born a Missourian, believe it or not. And there's just so many things I could describe about, but it'll take up the whole interview. Then I may have to do a tourist video for Canada KC.
Oh, hey, could be a new video for 2018, you know, tourism with DarkhorseKC. You never know, could be a bit.
Yeah, we should send you photos of all the fountains here, because Kansas City is also known as the city of fountains.
Yes, it's actually the second largest city to contain fountains, right underneath Rome, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that's pretty much Kansas City, and that's only like in an ounce of it. But there's just so much rich history and culture in there.
Well, I tell you what, right, fans, you've now heard a bit about Kansas City. You now know to book your tickets there. We're now helping the tourist board of Missouri there, getting a few more people there. But let's go back to Dark Horse, and that's actually, you were talking there, because a lot of the content you do is, because I know you do a lot of My Little Pony stuff, but quite a lot of what you do on YouTube and your writing is focused on Assassin's Creed and Edward Conway and the likes. What do you enjoy about the Assassin's Creed series? And what do you think about Origins? Because I've only played a wee bit of that and I haven't quite made my mind up on it.
Oh boy. Well, I'm going to save the spoiler alert, and I will definitely give my spoiler container review on that pretty soon. I'm currently in the process of that right now. But anyways, I've actually gotten into Assassin's Creed the same year I gotten involved in My Little Pony, hence why I kept my persona and kind of a respective representation how I gotten into them the same year in 2012, right at the end of season 2, believe it or not. But you got to understand first thing, I'm not really a gamer, but I am a huge fan of storytelling, and through circumstances, I watched it on YouTube, and I watched the cutscenes, even though I had to learn to go through the playthrough, and I fell in love with every storyline, and I even have a soft spot for Unity. But I just fell in love with the story, with the characters, because I love a good story, and that got my writing mojo going, and that got me into my blog, which I know we will probably talk about later. But for Origins, this was definitely the redemption of Ubisoft after living in a post-Unity world. Even though it went straight back to the roots of the first game, I loved the storyline. I loved how there's some reflection of continuity in there compared to the other games, and just the art and landscape in the back there is just so rich and beautiful. Because another fun fact, I actually back in November of 2007 was on a medical missions in Cairo, Egypt. So I saw the pyramids of Giza and everything in there, but to have this game released 10 years after that, and for me to go through the Egyptian theme, and even though it was the biggest fan request for that timeline, I was blown away. I was totally blown away, and I got so much more to talk about in my Let's Get the Facts review about that.
Yeah, and actually, well, I'm glad to see firstly that Origins is getting a positive outlook from yourself, because I've been checked out of the Assassin's Creed series for a while, and obviously I've kind of heard of the turmoil about it, so I'm glad that Origins is definitely worth the purchase. And you were talking there, actually, among your many projects you do is your Tumblr story, Awakening of the Deaf, which is an Assassin's Creed original story and a collaboration with your artist friend, Bayblast.
That's right. Actually, the funny story behind on how I got started in that, believe it or not, one of my main characters that I write, she and I, we collab together, Helen Patterson. This takes place kind of in the 1880s. What it is a revisionized story of Jack the Lad. If you played Assassin's Creed Syndicate, he became known as Jack the Ripper. She and I, actually, Bayblast, I used some of her art to do this one voiceover reel on a character of a comic that she never wanted to finish again due to personal reasons, but she loved my voice acting on there on my channel, and then we got into talking, and she's well known for doing Jack the Ripper art on there from the DLC, and then we started creating a revisionized story on what really made Jack the Ripper this way, because obviously, spoiler by the way, like, he felt victimized because of the death of his mother, but yet I felt that there's got to be more to that. The DLC there was really cool, but it didn't felt enough to me, so that's when I had the spark through the entire story of a possible develop of a very unusual romance. And so we've been working on it for over a year, and we've slowly gained a following, but it's actually have been a passion project too, since I really gotten into that story back in February of 2017 after I had a really bad breakup with my ex-boyfriend. So it was a breakup project when most would buy puppies or something after a nasty breakup.
Well, you can tell you're a creative person when you're going, right, I could be having hot chocolate, I could be watching, rom-coms on TV to try and get over it. No, I'm going to write an Assassin's Creed original story on Tumblr with my artist best friend. That is epic.
It is. And the best part about working on that collaborating project with Bayblast was we both definitely grew through that project. I saw that my writing was a huge difference because of that, and her artwork, which you guys need to check her out, and she's always open for commissions, is fantastic. Like, her artwork, I'm slowly getting her into the Brony fandom as well, and her, even on some of her pony artwork, even though it's in her style in the most unusual way, but compared to her realistic human style, It's just fantastic.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. If we'll put a link to Bablast's artwork in the description below, so guys and gals, if you want to go see her artwork, perhaps commission her, you can check the description below and go through there.
If you want really good, realistic human styles of the Equestria girls, definitely challenge her to that.
You're just trying to corrupt her slowly into the fandom, aren't you? Just like, one of us, one of us, one of us, one of us.
Maybe.
Soon her soul will be ours.
But seriously, this and I'm Justice Awakening of the Death was definitely a passion project for me in this fandom. Though I should give a little warning that in some areas it does go into a little risky territory in the story. So a fair warning.
Oh, that's understandable. So, guys and gals, like I said, if you want to check out her story on Tumblr as well, NSFW potential warning, so just be careful there. In terms of, like, that's not the only project you're doing. Like I said, you have done all sorts of things. I mean, you've got From the Horse's Mouth, which is, you know, is you discussing subjects relating to art, the fandom, other odds and ends, all direct from yourself. How important do you find it to discuss your views on kind of general topics as opposed to being like a purely MLP or Assassin's Creed creator?
Well, I originally created The Horse's Mouth as trying to get a podcast going on. I wanted to really express my viewpoints on what is going on in the subject matter, because I've noticed in many channels that if you stick with one particular subject, that it's true you have a strong fan base in it, but then when you get to another, then it gets less of you. So I wanted to have this hodgepodge of a conversation in this podcast, not just related to pony or related to assassins, like you say. I wanted to express my thoughts and feelings on the subject matter, even if it's unscripted at times, but yet gives an opportunity to display artwork from those I've seen, or gift arts that people suddenly give me for some apparent reason. But I wanted to really just express my thoughts and feelings in subject matters that really matter, from burnouts or to pop high demands of something you need, etc., etc., etc.
Well, speaking of burnout, I mean, I remember as well that you've actually been a voice actor and you've collaborated with the Autistic Pony on his production of fanfiction Cleave by Blazing Inferno, which you can find on Fanfiction, my friends. And part of that fanfic is about a pony who's kind of losing their creativity. I mean, is that something that you've experienced much of yourself?
Wow, that's kind of a tough question. Cause there were times where I felt like I was at the verge of burnout, because when I felt like I'm at a clicking edge, that's when I realized I needed to back out and work on something else. So, yeah, definitely Cleave was a perfect example on if you focus on a passion, something so much, it would burn it out and then it would no longer become fun. This happened the same way with whenever I'm working on my competitive trail riding. You get to work on a certain obstacle so much and then it becomes a burnout, but it applies to everything. It's all about balance, and it never hurts to have something else on the side where you could just step back and do something else and give your creative mind and mojo a bit of a hiatus break before going back into it.
Oh, definitely. Well, we all need a bit of time to just recharge the batteries occasionally and just sort of step back and get a bit of perspective. I mean, I think, Rocky, you and I can both agree to that point.
Absolutely.
One thing I actually want to ask you as well is, because you've got all these various projects, like, you know, the voice acting and the videos, but you're also an artwork as well. Oh, you know, you're not just artwork, you're an artist. Come on, Midnight, you can speak English when you try.
English, what's that?
English is a strangely foreign concept for a Scottish guy, that's all I'll say. But no, right, you are an artist who makes art, and you're on DeviantArt, and one thing I was noticing when I was researching you is that you've been on the site for over 10 years now, and which is an incredibly long time to be doing artwork for and to be lurking and all the rest. And how, like, as a non-artist, how has DeviantArt changed over the last 10 years, and how do you think your art's changed as well?
Well, definitely. I was just looking back at my DeviantArt as well, because I will admit I haven't touched it as much since the middle of 2017. But looking back, I've realized that I've definitely grown in my photography and even to my digital artwork, because I realized in the beginning, wow, I went from a small, crappy Kodak character to the Gentle Giant Buffalo that was my very first release to a recent Yellowstone picture I have with my Nikon D60. And the same thing goes with my DeviantArt for my digital art. I actually started it out on taking line art and just practicing on paint and everything. Then as I went into the Metropolitan Community College for graphic design, which that's where I graduated and got my associates, by the way, I've realized that it never hurts to take the time to experiment and explore. And even, believe it or not, Mad Munchkin actually released a video on character development saying that it never hurts to have your OCs regenerate and evolve. And yeah, over the years, my characters did evolve, including my main OC baby, Jeweled Faith, who was my spirit stallion, the Cimarron kind of Horsona there. She went through some major development in color-wise, and who knew after I made her into an ombre-maned spirit horse there, because believe it or not, her original design was actually kind of a orangish brown, but yet gray. And yet, right after I changed it to ombre, Fallout Equestria happened, and she looked like a unicorn pony version of Jewel. So it was one of those where I'm surprised I haven't gone for plagiarism in there, but it's okay. My character needed that development. Same concept with all of my dozens and dozens of OCs.
Well, it's that thing, as long as you've got reason for the change to your OC, it's absolutely fine. I mean, it's your character at the end of the day, and and at least you've been able to show that development.
But back to the subject with Cleave, it truly demonstrated that even those who are very creative, if not in a balanced mind on creativity, you could get greatly obsessed too, to the point where you would just lash out.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're very creative, I mean, the one thing I can definitely say is, like, because outside of the fandom, I'm a writer, or at least that's what I tell people, and I try and work on projects that, I've been working on a novel, and you end up in your own world in a very kind of strange place, because you're kind of going, right, I'm making these characters, I'm making this story, and you kind of, in your head, you become so minutely focused on it that it kind of takes over your head in a really strange way. Like, it's kind of, although it's a fictional world, it kind of becomes part of your own world because you're constantly thinking about it. It might as well be real for at least while you're creating it.
Which actually, believe it or not, even like separation of your creativity, it'll still stick right at you. I mean, every day for 5 days a week when I go over to the private stables where I work, I would have 4 to 5 hours to myself taking care of and riding these horses. I still have a lot of thinking time. So my brain still goes on working horses and yet thinking about either from my videos for the Assassin's Creed Origins review to my next chapter of Awakening of the Death. I mean, it'll still stick right by you, but there are times where you just have to keep it in check, or else you become a crazy broken-horned unicorn that has this scary obsession. AJ did a really good job with Cleave there, and that role was so much fun to play Candy Hearts.
Well, I'm glad the collaboration went well, and hopefully I'll get a chance to actually speak to the autistic pony at some point, because it seems like a really nice person, and I really like some of the content that they've been creating there, so hopefully at some point I'll get the pleasure of being able to meet him.
Oh, yeah, and I know AJ. I mean, I'm sure he'd be happy to do that. I can definitely pass him on.
And hey, listen, viewers, could be a potential exclusive in the future, but we'll see how that goes. But I will definitely appreciate it. Who knows what will happen. But I'll tell you what, for yourself, and actually for Keenan as well, actually, I'm going to fire the same questions to both of you, because we are, in theory, a bit of a pony podcast, although we interview all sorts of creators, and like we've discussed, you do so much on the Assassin's Creed side as well. You do all sorts of cool things. But for this, we're going to take it back to the base, the reason why we're here, the ponies.
Yes, the pale-colored ponies.
Exactly, let's talk about the hoofs. And we've got 5 questions I want to ask the both of you, and you can answer us whichever way you'd like. And we'll just go through them, just some nice, simple, easy list questions. And we're going to start off with the first one. Your favorite character?
Alright, favorite character is definitely Princess Twilight.
Ooh, alright.
Rainbow Dash for me.
Rainbow Dash and Twilight. Alright, so, well, Twilight's a bit of an interesting one, because I don't know if it's just me, it could just be, or maybe it's just because my partner constantly going on about how much, they don't like Twilight. But I've heard a lot of people have been turning against Twilight a bit recently. What do you like about her?
To me, Twilight is the essence of, well, she's reminds me a lot of myself personally on personality-wise. Like, you gotta understand, not only I love books and I'm a hard worker and so many, and if you talk to many of my friends, and Rocky could tell you this, I'm a walking dictionary. So I love it that she loves books, and I think among the main 6, though, or main 7 in that case, Twilight seems to show a lot of, in layman terms, human cases where even when she descends into alicornness, she is still quirky in so many things, but yet she keeps it all balanced, and I love that she is still growing and developing from Princess Celestia's student to even now being a teacher herself to Starlight. So I just love that she has a really good arc, and I think she's just the most realistic. Even though people keep thinking, because of the look of my OC and what I do, people always think I love Applejack, even though Applejack is my second favorite.
Second favorite, that's okay. I will accept second favorite. You get a pass. But Keenan.
Yeah, no, I think we should officially change the name to Bookhorse of KC.
Hardy har har.
Rocky, Rainbow Dash, explain yourself.
Well, let's see. Honestly, I don't really even have much to say. I really like the character. I don't know why. I haven't really thought about it too much here, so I could probably think of a reason at some point, but I just like the character.
Oh, no worries. Well, hey, look, liking a character because you like a character, that is entirely fair enough. I'm sure at some point in the future we will have you again on the show, and I will grill you then on the reasoning. You will not escape me.
And probably after my next From the Horse's Mouth about characters being identifiable or relatable, or on that, I have a special video coming up for that one about character identifiable or wanting to be like that character. That will be coming up, and I'll help you out there, Rocky.
I always appreciate any help I can get.
In terms of discussing that, actually, what other projects have the two of you got planned for the future?
Ooh, we got a big one that we've been working on, or trying to.
Yes, the Newbie Dash one, the one that we've been working since 2016.
Whoa, this has been in the pipeline for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be done long ago, but, oh man, let's see, how many different issues have we run into trying to get this done?
Too many to count. But in terms of other projects that you ask, like I mentioned before, I'm working on several collaborations. 2 of them are MLP-related content, and I'm currently working on the Assassin's Creed Origins review. And believe it or not, I'm also working on getting my panel outline together to submit to Evergreen Northwest since I will be going over there this May 18th through the 20th.
Oh, that's fantastic, and I like the plug there. Nicely done.
And kind of give you guys a sneak peek on that, I'm going to be talking about, it's called Poems and Quines, the history of the equine art, how it's connected to the autistic community, and why are people so drawn to pastel-colored ponies.
That sounds like a really interesting topic.
Yeah, I'm been doing a little bit of research of it lately since it's been in sub-zero temperatures, and you got a lot of reading to do to catch up before these panels.
Of course, the amount of work you'd have to put in to actually be prepared to do one at one of the conventions is absolutely immense.
Yeah, and this will probably be my first panel there, but I'm really excited and confident.
Well, we really hope it goes well for you. I mean, fingers and toes crossed. Hoofs crossed, the whole lot.
But other than that, just got a lot of projects going on and keeping on writing Awakening of the Death.
Well, that'll be great to see that you're continuing on with all those projects. And but I'll tell you what, I wanted to ask you actually, and once again, same question to Keenan, which is, how did you actually become fans of My Little Pony? What drew you in?
Well, what drew me in, like I said, it was back in 2012. I was actually visiting my grandmother for a long time, and every morning she was like going somewhere for apparent reason, though I was home alone a lot at the time, and it was during the time I was seeing a lot of pony-related content on my watch list on DeviantArt, and I was going through YouTube randomly, and I saw A Canterlot Wedding on YouTube. So I went on there, I watched the episode, I was kind of intrigued, and then I decided to go back when full MLP episodes were actually uploaded and watched season 1 and 2 through and became a brony ever since.
As for myself, let's see, it started all the way back when the show first came out. I was already heard that a new season or a new show was going to be coming out here, so I didn't really think too much of it at the time, though, but I kept hearing that a lot of people were getting into it, so one day I decided, I'll give the show a try myself here, so I recorded a few episodes, and the first one, or the one that I watched, the first one was, I'm blanking on the name here, Read It and Weep. That's it.
Yeah, it was Read It and Weep. You told me that.
Yep. See, that's the one I watched, and that's the one that got me started in the fandom. Yeah, I was genuinely impressed with the quality of the show. Then again, I wasn't even an artist back then, too. So this show's done so many great things for me. Not only has it helped me get a lot of friends, like it helped me meet you guys.
I'll tell you what, actually, discussing the fact that obviously, Keenan, you were talking about how you met myself and the other Highland Bronies through the show. In terms of the fandom as a whole, what do you both actually think of it? Because it's gone through quite a lot of changes, especially recently with the I know there were the art assets that got leaked from the show and the episodes and whatnot for the new season and the movies being out. So there's been a lot of things going on recently. But what do you both think about the fandom?
Well, let's see. The fandom has definitely had its fair share of challenges here. Same thing that every fandom goes through here, but it's mostly been positive.
I mentioned this quite before in my recent release on our ability to choose. That was my latest Let's Get the Facts videos. When I got into the fandom, we were like on the hyping gate, and I mean, heck, I went through the dreaded season 3 in there, and then with the whole drama of Twilight being an alicorn and everything. Like I mentioned before in there, that there's really no such thing as a perfect fandom, and even it does have some struggles up and down a little bit, but I really liked that in some cases that they all have the love and tolerance attitude into there, but sometimes it can be hard to adapt into. Don't get me wrong, I have many wonderful friends in the brony community, and I'm going to go this in layman's terms. I explained it fully in my ability to choose video, but I think on the leaked videos, someone may have had too much passion and didn't have it fully balanced to where they think they could release it, they could become popular, they could become the next best thing, when really it could put something in danger. So really, I really love this fandom, flaws and all that, but I believe that if we all just wake up and smell the diner coffee and then just realize we need to keep it balanced, even no matter what terms, that we all need to pull through this together.
Yep. I definitely like pretty much what the show's done for just a lot of people in general. For various people, the subjects that the shows has covered over the years, it's actually helped a lot of people dealing with those situations.
It even helped me a lot, too, especially between 2014 and 2015, which I already covered that in another video. You'll have to scavenge through that one. But yeah, it helped me cover through a hard time, too, back around that period, as well as Assassin's Creed. It's just amazing how a certain, it doesn't matter if it's a show or series or games or anything, that a community is a family, so each person within that fandom has a different interpretation of a family. You could have like a crazy fandom of a family or a serious fandom of a family, but that's how I see it all, as that one big happy family, and yet I'm a part of two.
Exactly, because you've got the Assassin's Creed community as well.
Yes, I do have the Assassin's Creed community, and in the contrast, I've only been to 2 brony conventions where I've seen a mask, but I always felt at home when I'm among bronies in a convention when they're celebrating something that we all have an agreements and love. Though I will admit, sometimes online it can be almost of a fight of survival, which, to give you guys one quick story, I used to try to make an attempt to make MLP fanfiction content, but right at the first chapter, I gotten so many backlashes, and yet it was just a developing story. It was then where I'm like, step back. I was like, okay, maybe they're a little sensitive in the fandom fiction there. I guess maybe that's why I gotten into the fact that I got to go all original, kind of like for Awakening of the Death was pretty much the Fallout Equestria version in the AC world.
Well, the thing is, at least you actually figured out a way to adapt to it. I mean, it's a shame that you had the barrage of haters, the nitpickers and so on. Because I mean, you are right. There's a few people in the fandom who need to take a cup of coffee and a chill pill and just relax for a while. To end it on a high note, you're right about the conventions. I mean, I've been to a couple myself. I'm actually heading to one in February as well in the Netherlands. It is such a fantastic experience to meet other people who share the same passion and to just celebrate it together. Especially considering that, used to live very close together, but we're quite far apart, and at least, yourself and I. And I've got friends all around Europe as well, and going to a convention, getting to see them all and to, have this shared thing that connects us all. It's one of the best things in the world, really. I can't knock it.
Exactly. And yet, another fun thing too, I mentioned this in the video too, like someone actually commented to me that they were really envious of the AC community compared to the Brony community, that we are all very mature. But like I said, no fandom is perfect. I mean, if you want drama arguments, you should see all the Ezio versus Connor comments in there. I mean, like I said, no fandom is perfect.
Well, you're definitely right there. There are flaws in all of them, but we should celebrate the good times while we have them. But I tell you what, I don't know what time we're at the interview, but I'm willing to wager that we're well over the interview time limit. So I'm going to actually wrap this up to our close. Firstly, thank you both so much for coming on. Dark Horse, Rocky Harmony, it has been great having you both on. I hope you've had a good time here. I mean, I know this has been a bit unusual the way it's been done, and of course my English has been failing throughout the whole interview because I'm in desperate need of coffee.
It's okay. Everyone's only silently judging you, so it's okay.
It's all right. Rocky and I will probably just send you some KC Roastery coffee, probably. That's what we may have to end up doing.
Oh, listen, I will not say no to any donations of coffee. I'm always up for trying new brands.
And Kansas City barbecue, which is best barbecue, by the way, in the entire nation.
Yep.
Great, so now I'm thirsty and hungry. Thank you very much for that.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for giving me this opportunity. And plus, on a side note, I want to thank also my good friends, Babe Last, and even a couple of friends in the they're in the voice acting realm. Adrian Huff, who, believe it or not, plays Hatham Kenway, and also just so many people who helped me, gave me good advice through my voice acting and for the interview. I want to thank them for their mentorship.
Well, I've no doubt that they appreciate all that, and once again, thank you both for coming on the show. My final question to the two of you is where can we send our fans to find your work? Where are you on the web?
All right, so obviously it's YouTube, probably in the link description below, but I'm just the DarkhorseKC. That's my full YouTube username, but I'm known as the DarkhorseKC. My DeviantArt name is Jeweled Faith, as well as my Tumblr page, but my main story Tumblr page for Awakening of the Death is awakeningofthedeath.tumblr.com, and I also have a Twitter, just DarkhorseKC.
Let's see. Yes, I got a couple of pages here. There's my YouTube channel, which it's got the same name as my OC, Rocky Harmony. My DeviantArt page is Fireheart Draws, where you can also find my most recent large project, which happens to be a portrait of MidnightScibe himself.
Which was absolutely lovely, if I do say so myself.
Yes, I gave you Judge here.
You gave me Judge here. It is brilliant. Like, forget Judge Judy, Judge MidnightScibe. I'm coming for the throne.
Yeah, the piece was jokingly a portrait more of your hair rather than yourself.
That is true, but to be fair, my hair is my most defining feature, so I can hardly complain about that at all. Anything that makes my fro better, like, you're going to be in my good books. But we shall wrap up the show there for tonight. My thanks to DarkhorseKC and Rocky Harmony for being on the show. My thanks to you guys for watching. And of course, if you want to get in contact, if you're a creator in a fandom or another fandom that perhaps would like to be interviewed on the show, or perhaps you know someone who would be great to have on the show, if you got any, positive points you'd like to bring up, you know, constructive criticism. Perhaps you just want to send fan mail. Like we get fan mail, but if we got fan mail, it would be great. You can send it to us at all sorts of places. We are on Facebook, Twitter, we're on YouTube where you're watching us right now, the Highland Bronies. You can get in contact with us there. Our email is also on the YouTube channel as well, so you can get in contact with us through there. Anything you'd like to send, please go for it. We're happy to receive it all. But thank you all so much for watching, and the last word, as always, from MidnightScibe is, please subscribe.